Football culture in Brazil is finally coming back, and it's all because of this man, Fernando Diniz. If there is a country that I, an American, would rather say football instead of soccer for, just out of respect, it's Brazil. But England created the entire sport.
Don't care, still don't care.
5 World Cups, the most out of any other country, 3 of them being in the span of 4 competitions, as well as creating some of the best wonder kids in today's game, as well as creating some of the best players of all time. But the world doesn't really care at the moment because it's more focused on the positional play of, say, someone like Pep Guardiola. However, one manager in Brazil, Diniz, who is the manager of Fluminense and the interim manager of Brazil, has created a play style that's so opposite of positional play that it's essentially a giant middle finger to the entire tactic. And this new play style that is taking the entire world by storm is called relationism. Now, something that I thought would be interesting would be recording the entire process about learning about relationism, because I have only watched one singular video. No articles, no follow-ups, nothing. So I figured we could learn about it and go down this little rabbit hole together. And if you like it, be sure to let me know. And if you don't like it, again, be sure to let me know so I don't do it again. I also had to look up how to pronounce Diniz, and I think it was this one. I think it was right. I don't think it's Diniz. I don't think it's that, like this one said it was. You know what, let's just start out with the actual manager, right? Because I want to know what this dude's all about, right? So let's see. He's stayed in Brazil, it looks like, the entire time, at least as a player. Did he manage anywhere else? He's just basically stayed in Brazil the entire time. That's what it looks like. So 1 year after retiring, he was appointed the head coach of this club and then immediately won titles, like twice. What the hell? I mean, just looking at his win record, he wasn't like too prolific. Only 3 years was he above a 50% winning percentage. I mean, it seems as though some of the fans are pretty excited about it. The most exciting coach for decades. So he's managing in Brazil. I think it's like top 8. I think it's 7th or 8th compared to like the rest of the world in terms of talent. If you can get to the level of playing with really good players who understand technique, intricacy, communication, very important details, and just needing good players, I think Brazil would actually be very good for him. Oh, nope, never mind. Roland says this is pathetic. All right, well, Diniz is widely known as the new Guardiola, which is interesting because his playstyle is basically the exact opposite. Oh, never mind. He explains it like a sentence later. It's curious. When I saw one of his games live in the stadium, it becomes clear that the way of executing is very different. Fluid possession-based tactic, constant approximation, numerical superiority. So it's just movement, constant movement, moving from one side to the other. The most striking aspect of Diniz's tactics is loading one side of the pitch and building from there, relying on one-to-one short passing. I mean, you got like 3 right wingers on this side. What the hell? And now you have 3 left wingers. Okay, so you literally just play with just wingers. There's like very few actual play going down the center. Relationism is not just players standing close together, nor can it be reduced to players being friends with one another. Relationist players move together while communicating through signals and cues, often undetectable by those schooled in various other strains of football thinking. So you gotta be a goddamn genius for this. Like, this is insane. Best way to describe it is when 3 or more players line up in a diagonal line and use dummies to progress the ball. They can be found throughout Brazilian history. There's no shot. What the fuck? So it's not just players running around, they are actually putting themselves in specific positions where it looks chaotic, and it probably is obviously a little bit, that's probably the point, but they do it in a specific manner. It's a controlled chaos. And that's why I said, like, Brazilian football is back. If this works out, this could be really, really important for the Brazilian team. Because let's be real, for people who loved Ronaldinho as an idol, it wasn't because of his positional play and his IQ. It was because he played in a very fun way. That's what Brazil is, and I would love to see a World Cup winning quality Brazilian team playing like this. Okay, so we learned about the coach a little bit, kind of where he comes from. What about like relationism? I should specify. What is relationism? This should be good. Look how long this thing is, man. Oh my god, I'm excited. So we're learning about the tactics, at least more in depth now. So there have 7 tactical patterns and motives commonly found in relationist play. Toko ima voy means I play, I go. Okay, they're free to move into large spaces. They can explode forward at every moment moment. He who dares wins. Principle can be more or less extreme. Perhaps only certain players are encouraged to perform it or in certain areas of the field. Ergo, center backs don't really do it because that would be way too risky. Fair enough. Okay, tabellas now. What do we have here? Together, the two players approach each other with the proposal to make a table. In English, we refer to the play as 1-2s. So essentially, it's a wall pass, right? So you pass it. There's the toque y me voy. There's the tabella as the layoff. Got it. Okay. And you got to time it perfectly because if you pass right away, you're just going to pass it directly into someone else or it's just going to be overplayed. So it's the timing of it as well. And then, of course, there's the Wilshire goal where he's just going right through. But I think the Rosicky goal makes more sense because players are literally just standing, right, where Rosicky runs through. So we have Toco y me voy. We have tabellas. What else do we have? The corta-luz and the escondinas. Of course, our most common tool for moving upwards are stairs. In relationism, the concept of a diagonal structure of incrementally increasing height manifests through players working together. That's what we saw. We saw, remember those like 50,000 diagonal lines on the field by the team? The ability to identifying escadinas reveals doors where before there were only walls, secret passageways through tightly locked defensive blocks. Who the hell is the writer here? Who was it? Jamie Hamilton? You're just a wonderful human being. Just keep it up. Wait a second. No. Hang on. That's Rosicki's goal. I need to watch more Brazilian football. This is wonderful. So we did Toco y me voy. We did tabellas. We did escadinas. Now we have the corta-luz. Now what is this? Portuguese to English gives us cut light. Plunging the defender into sudden darkness perfectly captures the aesthetic of pulling the wool over the eyes of a hapless opponent. This is the greatest article I've ever read. This is the most humiliating thing that you can do. You want to know why? You're not doing a goddamn thing. You're not touching the ball. You're not touching your opponent. You are doing nothing and you get past them. It's a dummy with an escadinha. That's the difference, I guess. I don't think I can genuinely comprehend that. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All within 6 yards of each other. That's disgusting. Ball progression is redistributed to the collective intelligence of the players. You give the power back to the players, and I think that's how it should be as well. Okay, so we have the Toco y me voy, into the tabellas, into the escadinas, into the corta-luz. Now we have these final things. Next we have tilting. I'm assuming that just means just everyone close proximity onto one side of the field or not. So everyone is in proximity on the left side of the field. Everyone close together. I mean, you can see that. Again, we mentioned before how there's like 5 players in the 6 yards of space. Honestly, what I find interesting, look what the defender does with the ball. You're supposed to go into space. He goes back into the chaos. Positional teams are aware of committing too many players forward and then do a 2-3 or 3-2. Again, what does that look like? Arsenal? Exactly. City? Exactly. The fact that this is a Brazilian team doing this, that's just not cultural. That's not them. So we did the tilting. What about the defensive diagonal? Simply put, the defensive diagonal is an inward movement performed by the opposite side fullback to mark the opponent's ball far winger or simply close the inside space. So the defensive diagonal makes me think it's just a free man, right? As you can see on this picture, everyone's on the left, everyone's over there, and you have a free man just over there. Now we have the final thing, the yo-yo, final tactical concept. In this guide, relationism is required to return to the beginning. The yo-yo is a subtle yet pivotal move. In relationism, switches should not be made for switch's sake. Too many switches destroy the ability to maintain a coherent tilt. That's what I was mentioning before. Instead of the center back switching it to the other center back or the other side of the field where there was clearly space and open people, he would go right back into it, causing that chaos and, I guess, causing the tilt. I'm realizing that if the defense committed the players to that side, the defensive diagonal would be open. Tilting embodies the asymmetry, which is fundamental to the relationist approach. It is about throwing the opponent off balance. I guess if you're central, you probably have an easier time defending. Plus, if you lose the ball in a central area, that's going to be a much easier time to counter it with it as well. If you're constantly tilting, that means that the average position should be just like right down the middle. Maybe it favors one side or the other just a little bit. It's just like a straight line down the middle. You have all these players in one spot. You have like the fullbacks who are on one side. But then look at the midfielders and attackers. Again, they're all in that line. Keep in mind, still a diagonal, by the way. Excuse me. Escadinha, I apologize. So looking at the difference between positionism and relationism, it says right here, right? It's essentially the exact opposite. Positionism, where all possible relations are a function of positions. So you hear about player relationships forming, but that's because they're usually on the same side, like say Ben White and Saka. But then you have relationism, which is again the exact opposite, where it's all possible positions are a function of relations. So I'm curious because where do you go from here? If you're in Europe and you're on that biggest stage like the Champions League, or if you're a small team in the Europa League, for example, do you try to adopt something like this? Do you stick with positionism? Like, what do you kind of do? Like, what is your thought process behind it? So I think there is no actual correct answer. It's just about preference. Me personally, I think I do prefer relationism, but I want to hear what you guys think. Which one do you prefer? What do you want to see happen in Europe, at least? Do you want to see more relationism? Do you want to see just positionism? What's going on there? So that is going to do it for this video, guys. If you want to see anything else, be sure to let me know. But like I said, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you later. Peace.